Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the SSRI GT4 Championship. Tonight we head down under to the undulating hills of New South Wales, Australia, and the treacherous mountain circuit of Mount Panorama in Bathurst. This challenging 3.8-mile long circuit plays host to the famous Bathurst 1000 and Bathurst 12-hour endurance races. Mount Panorama boasts an unusual design by modern standards, with a 570-foot vertical difference between its highest and lowest points and gradients as steep as 1 in 6. The mountain section, from turns 3 all the way through to turn 18, are lined with 5-foot concrete retaining walls within inches of the track edge, leaving zero margin for error. This unique design creates a circuit of two halves, where overtaking is nigh on impossible in the mountain, but opportunities to pass are plentiful for the brave in the low-level sections, especially at the end of the 2-meter Conron Straight into the Chase, Murray's Corner into the main straight, and the end of the mountain straight into turn 2 of Griffin's Bend. Now, as if all of that wasn't challenging enough, throw into the mix a field of 24 GT4 cars with very little grip, and we are going to be in for an exciting evening in racing. Joining me in the comms box this evening for all the twists and turns is Ryan Walker. Good evening, Ryan. Are you as excited about this race as I am?
Good evening, Sam. Yeah, I absolutely am. Bathurst, but it's an absolutely fantastic track. It's a bit of a weird track because it's got even though it doesn't look it, it's got a bit of a street circuit feel to it as well. Because some people might not know that this track, when it's not being used for hosting V8 supercars or racing in general, it's actually used as a road for basically everyday use by road users. But basically, they like to maybe use this part of Bathurst or town in general to get to work or just go to other places in general. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird track in that respect.
It is, yeah, and I've got to admit, I knew that there was a bit of a street element circuit to it, but I didn't know that, when the track isn't being used for race days, it is public open roads. People can drive both ways. There is a very, very strict 60-kilometer limit up the mountain, and apparently police are constantly monitoring the hills around the mountain circuit, simply because everybody loves to just tear ass right around here. But yeah, and there are apparently houses in and amongst the track that are only accessible by driving the circuit itself, which I think is just amazing. It's got to be such good fun.
Yeah, absolutely has, and another fact as well that the National Motor Racing Museum at Bathurst currently resides on Murray's Corner, basically the final corner. So that's another cool thing I just found out this afternoon when I was doing some research. So plenty of use for everyday use by basically non-racing car people, and Motor Racing Museum as well. We just at the last corner of the circuit as well. So plenty of things for people to do around Bathurst.
Yeah, and and it's one of those the other love-hate circuits. When you get a lap right here, it feels absolutely phenomenal. However, getting a lap right here is just so difficult. I mean, and whenever I drive this track, it literally feels like I'm playing pinball through the mountain. It's try not to bounce off of the walls. And and as I said in my opening, there are sections through the mountain where these concrete walls, there's no runoff, there's no gravel, there's nothing. There is literally tarmac, white line, concrete wall. And if you get it wrong, you're dead instantly.
Yeah, that's the thing with this track as well. That's the thing I like about Bathurst as well. But I've never been quick around this track, but it's one of those tracks that if you nail a lap around here, it just feels so rewarding. When you finish the lap, you're like, yes, I finished the lap and I didn't hit the wall. There's one thing that'll always sit with me when it comes to Bathurst, when it comes to real life motorsport, is I remember watching Greg Murphy's lap of the gods live on TV at the time. What must be going back in 2003, I think it was, 2003, I think it was, in the shootout qualifying for the 2003 race, and it was just after watching that lap, I was just gobsmacked.
Yeah, it definitely takes some ultimate bravery to go flat out and around here. Even though they've kind of tamed the mountain section a little bit, the S's, infamous turn 14, then the Dipper, before they reprofiled that part of the circuit. The camber and there was a strange dip in the road that meant 9 times out of 10 you were going around there with only 2 wheels touching the surface, and millimeters from a wall is a recipe for disaster.
Indeed, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys racing here tonight might experience some scary moments, because especially across Skyline, just because you're going so quick, sometimes your braking points are a lot earlier than usual, but some drivers like to try and risk it and brake later than normal just to try and gain some time. But sometimes if you brake late ever so slightly over Skyline, the car gets it gets so light because you're going over a crest in a way, and then most of the time you've not got any control, and there's only one way you're going with no gravel. You're always bound to go into a wall.
Yeah, I mean, Skylines, if you don't get your braking point right and at Skylines going into then the S's, it's one of those muscle memory sections of track where you just have to have a formula of brake, downshift, turn, and get those all of those elements, sort of lined up and done in the right order. That if you get the first one wrong, it just concertinas all the way down the rest of that section, and you're lucky to come out of it with paint still intact. But I've just seen that the cars have headed out on track for the qualifying, so let's head out onto track. But I've just been told that my stream's 2 minutes ahead of what's actually happening yet. So we've still got another 2 minutes then to have a quick chat. Looking at the the practice times in the server over the past couple of weeks. No surprise, Aaron Walker up at the top. With a 2 minutes 12, but he has been putting in some lap times, and over the past fortnight, he's done 196 practice laps with 115 of those valid. So he's definitely been putting in the time, and it certainly reflects in his lap time of a 2:12.
Indeed, and that's the thing with Bathurst as well. It's not really one of those tracks that you can just turn up to and just jump on track, because it requires so much. You've got to be so precise around here, and if you even lose an ounce of focus or for 1 second, the Bathurst will bite you. And it's happened in real life. It's happened in sim racing, and no doubt it may happen tonight if either any of these drivers lose their concentration for 1 slight second. But I have to say that Aaron Walker has been really quick this season so far in the races that he's taken part in, and I think he could be one of those dark horses that he could possibly take the win if anyone like Andrew Richardson, for example, slips up around here. Yeah,
I just looking at the standings, Aaron Walker sitting in P3 in the pro class, only 20 points behind Andrew Richardson. And I'm just... So when Andrew Richardson is here tonight, so, it could end up being an interesting battle between Aaron and Andrew then this evening. So definitely, they're definitely going to be for some interesting racing tonight, and definitely quite a lot of wheel-to-wheel.
Indeed, and just like looking at the championship standings as well, I'm looking at them at the moment, and Andrew Richardson is leading the championship by he's got a decent margin, but not by much. So he's still under pressure in the championship from Regan Mitchell and Aaron Walker. And Regan Mitchell, another driver that's he's racing I think he's racing the Maserati tonight, I believe.
Yes, yes.
So one of those drivers that's been racing the Maserati, one of those cars that's not got any ABS or traction controls. So that could be an interesting proposition for him around here, around this Bathurst track.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to watch him come down then the mountain. And I know that Regan is a highly accomplished driver. He's been driving the Maserati. I believe this is his second season, but behind the wheel of that machine. So, he knows its foibles. He knows how to chuck it around and get the best out of it. So, it's going to be really, really fun to see that car coming down the mountain, I think. We've got Aaron out on his first flying lap at the minute in the 99 KTM. I do really like the KTMs. We've mentioned them a couple of times in this series so far. It's good to see the KTM out. They don't get selected very often, so I'm glad that there's two of them in the championship this season.
Yeah, I've done some laps offline with the KTM, and I have to say it's one of those cars. I like the car. Just it seems to suit my driving style, but it's one of those cars that it's just so much fun to jump in, and it doesn't. It's just a shame it doesn't seem to get a lot of love as Aaron Walker completes his first lap at 2:13.1.
Yeah, I see that our very own Dave Hedges, not that far behind in the other KTM, so only 0.2 of a second behind as we start getting some initial lap times coming in.
Indeed, yeah, good to see Dave doing well in qualifying, and he's had some decent results so far this season. Probably not been up at the front, challenging for wins, but still doing well at the moment in qualifying as they ride on board with the Hedges and getting a bit sketchy on the entry there. That's what I'm talking about. Bathurst as well, especially on corner entries. So some of these corners, the car just wants to move around, and you've got to really fight it. And Dave's having to fight it at the moment, but still managing to keep it in a straight line. But as on the downside with getting sketchy and a bit sideways there, it's cost him a second.
We just jump on board with Andrew Richardson, who's currently about an eighth of a second up, although he's lost a bit of time coming out of Forest Elbow onto the back straight of Conrad's. It's one of those difficult corners, and I absolutely detest Forest Elbow as a corner. You can do so amazingly well. You've just come down through the mountain, you've survived, you've got all of your paint and your wing mirrors, and then suddenly you just get Forest Elbow just that little bit wrong, and Conrad's is such a long straight. If you get Forest Elbow just that little bit wrong, it just destroys your lap. But he's managed to pull back a little bit of his lap time as he jumps up to P2.
Yeah, it's one of those corners. It's one of those. Aaron Walker's just behind him as well, and still in the pole position. Aaron Walker improves his lap time down to a 2:12.930. So Aaron Walker's certainly in the running for pole position and qualify at the moment. But I have to agree that corner heading onto Conrod Straight, you want a good exit to try and carry that momentum and carry the speed down that straight. Otherwise, if you get the entry wrong ever so slightly, you can lose it. You can possibly, or even if you get it wrong, lose a few tenths.
Yeah, quite easily, and it's a difficult corner to get your braking point right, because your braking point where you should be braking is right in the middle of a dip where you're just not going to have a lot of traction. So it's so difficult to get right, and even more difficult within the GT4s. Being as low traction as they are, wanting to be that quite slidey anyway. So they're definitely a handful. And we're just on board with it with Dan Lenson, who has just put in a blistering lap of a 2:12.8. That's a second quicker than his previous lap time. So Lenson doing really well in the Team Rocket, the 31 machine.
Indeed, that was a good lap from Lenson as well. It seems to be the thing with these cars as well. Is the more you go on once the tires get warmed up and get some temperature into them, it seems to be you go quicker and quicker. But that's the thing I like with these GT4 cars as well. It's got traction control, they've got traction control, but apart from the Maserati, that you can rely on it, but they're not like GT3 cars when you can rely on them heavily. It's some of it or most of it's down to the driver.
Mm. Yeah, these cars, have a lot less downforce than the GT3s, so they do tend to move around a little bit, and not quite as pointy in turning as the GT3s, which is something that I really struggle with the GT4s. I like to have a car that's very pointy and will turn in pretty much exactly when I ask it to. So never really got on with the GT4s last season. Very, very difficult. Doesn't really match my driving style.
Yeah, I'm sort of similar. I do like the GT4 cars, but they don't seem to suit my driving style. I'm more of a I don't like a pointy car, a pointy setup. I like to trail brake a lot to get the front to turn, but it's just a driving style thing. But with these GT4 cars, I find you've got to have it set up slightly pointy. It seems to be the quickest way to get pace out of these cars.
Mm. Then the other thing that's and I'm noticing with these lap times starting to come down now is certainly when with this track, Spa is another one that you just need to put in lap after lap after lap and start to get into the rhythm of how then the track flows, in order to start to get the good lap times. So it takes a very, very special driver to be able to put in a quick lap and a clean lap straight out of the gate. So I think that's why when we're seeing the time starting to come down now, a lot of the drivers putting in on their third or certainly fourth laps already on the timing board. So
It is right on board with Nicholas Millet. Currently just about 1 second up at the moment, coming through the chase, and it's another difficult corner to get right because you're turning right at the same time, and then all of a sudden you've got to slam on the brakes to get the car turned or slow down. Sorry. So it looks to be a decent lap from Nicholas at the moment. It's coming down to Murray's corner now, and such a good corner. One of those corners, if you get it right, you can gain heaps of time as it comes across the line now, and it looks like it's going to be a 2:15.3.
yep. So that puts him up into P19. And I'm just trying to find somebody else who's doing some good lap times. Oh yeah, Mark Signal currently 0.8 up, and Smotion also in 0.8 up. So then there are definitely some drivers out on track at the minute who are starting to put some good times in.
Yep, indeed, and I was just going to say, yeah, it looks like there's still some drivers on track finishing their laps. So it looks like most drivers are deciding to dive into the pits and sit out the remaining couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'm noticing though that Wouter Vrints and Dennis Verkman have not yet put in clean lap times yet. So they've definitely been out on track. They've been putting the laps in, but they just haven't managed to string a clean lap together yet. So we're coming down into, then the last 2 minutes. This is going to be Vince is just coming on to Conrad's now, so if this isn't valid, he'll have a chance for one more. Not sure where Dennis is on track and at the minute. So he's just starting a lap now. So this is going to be do or die for Vince and Verkman to get a lap onto the board. And see if they can get somewhere up the table.
Indeed, there's a Watson Walter Rintz coming across the line now. It looks like he's going to improve slightly up into 19th place, so decent lap from him. He improved slightly. But yeah, it looks like he's got one more qualifying attempt or one more attempt to improve his position. But that's pretty much that's it. Anyone that's crossed the line now has only got one more chance to improve their position and improve their lap time. But yeah, look at the lap times overall in qualifying. It's there's pretty much about a 1 second gap, or close to that, from about first down to round about down to 10th, or even lower.
Yeah, they definitely a tight field up and then the front of the grid. And as you said, Lynn, less than a second separating than the top 9. And even down to P13 Sander Vale is only 1.6 off than the leader Dan Jensen. So it's they definitely tied at the sharp end of the grid, and is definitely going to make for interesting first couple of laps. When first laps here are notoriously difficult, as they are with any circuit, but having everyone bunched together on a track then this tight and technical definitely makes for some dicey first couple of laps.
As Richard Pixley's coming around the final corner, it looks like he could improve his position, and he comes across up to second. That was a nice improvement from Richard Pixley.
Yeah, that's a really good lap time from Pixley there. Up into to P2 just in the dying seconds. And who else is left out on track? It looks like everyone who is out on track is not improving on their times, although Andrew Richardson is improving slightly. As is Mark Saniel, but everyone else, I think... So I think that is... So when on board with Dave Hedges, he's currently 0.3 of a second up on his time. Oh! And unfortunately, has gotten the last corner just a little bit wrong and didn't improve. So they've had to stay in P9. So as the drivers get themselves ready for the race, just have a quick chat about strategy, Ryan. So this is our first 90 minutes race of the championships. So fully expecting drivers to take a full pit stop. The 90-minute race does require at least one mandatory pit stop for tires and fuel. So I think it's going to not quite be as open to pit strategy as our previous two races at Suzuka and Brands Hatch. So, what are you expecting from the pit stops today, Brian?
Yeah, 90 minutes. I think. Yeah, we're interested to see what strategy these drivers go with. I've got a feeling that some drivers might even try and do, when it comes to the pit stop, maybe just try and take fuel only, or some other drivers might try and take fuel and tyres. I think it's going to be interesting to see what some of these drivers do. And I think if I was racing in this race, I would probably take fuel and tyres just to be safe. But I think it depends where these drivers are. If you see the usual drivers up at the front, I've got a feeling that one of them might try and maybe just take fuel only and take the risk and just not change any tyres. But 90-minute race on the same set of tyres, that's going to be you would need to be very careful.
Now, then the 90-minute races, tire changes are mandatory. So,
Okay.
People aren't going to have the option to try and eke it out in a full 90 minutes on a single set. I certainly wouldn't want to do that around this circuit, even if it was open. So, and pit stop times, unless you've got damage, and I think that's going to be then the deciding factor in the pit stops today, is whether people decide to fix damage or not. Even just a slight little kiss of the wall can you can start to rack up the damage time. So it'd be interesting to see whether people pit early to fix an early lap damage. A lot of drivers, I suspect, are probably going to pit at exact halfway, just to make the most of the tires. But yeah, whether or not to fix damage, I think, is going to be the critical question for drivers today. So as we look down the grid, we've got just under 2 minutes until we start the formation lap. On row 1, we've got Dan Lenson with Richard Pixley alongside. Row 2, we've got Aaron Walker and Regan Mitchell in the Maserati. Row 3, we've got Andrew Richardson and Yannick Valenduck. Richardson, not qualifying quite as high as he normally does, so he's going to have his work cut out to try and pass the 5 drivers in front. Next row, we've got Tim Nybor and Damon de Keyser, followed by Dave Hedges and Denise Pope on row 5. Row 6, we've got Mark Neutlings and Dimitri Schenk, followed by Sander Vale and Jean-Paul Alkenboom. Then we've got Evan Nepfus and Mark Cooper, followed by Nick Vargas and Patrick Tractor. Behind them, we've got Mark Senyol and Dennis Berkman, followed by Wouter Vrins and Nicholas Milot. Jan Barth and Stanislav Samashin bring up the final row of the grid. So Ryan, what are you looking forward to most for this race as we come up into the last 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what these drivers will do, or what some of the drivers will do. I wonder if some drivers might try and get aggressive, earlier on and try and gain track position, or if some drivers will maybe just be a little bit more cautious with it being 90 minutes and just settle into it. But Bathurst is one of those tracks that you don't want to really get aggressive when you think about it in the early stages, because there's so many cars, and especially across the mountain section, there's always going to be a recipe for disaster with drivers possibly clipping the wall or spinning and hitting the wall on lap 1, for example. But as the cars get ready to set off and they're warming up lap, I think this is the moment when the drivers start getting a little bit tense and a little bit nervous, because they're not sure what to expect.
Yeah, first lap in is always going to be interesting. Tire warming and probably brake warming as well is going to be quite critical on this sort of an outlap. It's a really long track, so it's difficult to get tire temperature and brake temperature. But your first corner, is, heavy braking zone, 90 degrees at Hell Corner onto the mountain straight. Catches a lot of drivers out if they haven't warmed their brakes properly, so could be a very, very interesting start to the race.
It could indeed, and as drivers start warming their tyres up and warming their brakes up, yeah, don't be surprised if you see some drivers getting a bit sketchy and sideways, especially across the mountain section on the colder tyres, or not as warm. The tyres not being as warm, so don't be surprised if some drivers get caught out on lap 1 or in the early laps anyway. But yeah, looking forward to this race. It's good. I was going to say it'll be difficult to predict who'll do well in this race and finish on the podium, but you'll probably see the usual people up at the front, trying to put in a dominant display or do well anyway, by the likes of Andrew Richardson and Regan Mitchell and Aaron Walker being named. But I've just got a feeling that Richard Pixley could spring a surprise here.
Mm. Yeah, Bathurst is one of those tracks that is very, very difficult to predict what's going to happen, because a race can turn on its head within milliseconds around a track like this. Somebody gets it an inch wrong going down the mountain, and you can have massive changes for position early on. Lots of potential for damage. So it's one that is, always very, very difficult to predict. But the one thing that I can certainly guarantee, it's going to be an interesting race.
Absolutely, as these cars come onto the straight now, and yeah, some of them are still trying to warm their brakes up by the looks of it. But yeah, I think Richard Pixley might be feeling slightly nervous here, because it's I don't think he's qualified up at the front this season so far. Well, but I think this is his first time qualifying up at the front, I believe. So yeah, good to see him up on the front row anyway, and good to see. And also his teammate Denise Pope took the pole position in the AM class.
Yeah, I was just looking at that in the AM Championship. She's currently sitting in P2 behind Dennis Workman. There's about 15 points separating them. As we saw in qualifying, Workman didn't have a very good qualifying session. He's quite a number of places behind Denise, so I think this is going to be a really good opportunity for Denise to pull in some much needed points and try and close that gap to Dennis in P1 in the AMP Championships. And if she has a really good race, we could even potentially see a change of position.
Indeed, as the cars are coming up to the final corner now, and they're all starting to line up, and yeah, as soon as it comes around the final corner, Murray's corner, yeah, they'll be waiting for the green flag to fly, and then we'll be underway.
Green light, show them what you got.
And we're green. Lenson looks like he's gotten a really, really good start, but Pixley is still right there. Little bit of contact been behind, but I think everyone has gotten through cleanly.
Yeah, as they're all coming up to the start of the mountain section now, and it looks like Pixley's trying to make a move for the lead straight away, looking from the rear of Lenson, and yeah, one of the trickiest corners to get right under braking, just because the car wants to move around him. Pixley, being a good start by him, he's not letting Lenson get away over the mountain, and it looks like both of these drivers are starting to build a bit of a gap already.
Yeah, I mean, and it looks like we have had a really, really nice, clean start to this race, and the the gap between Letson and Pixley, and still under a second. However, these two are starting to pull away from Andrew Richardson, who has made up a couple of places on the start up to P3, but has nearly 3 seconds to claw back to get back onto then these two for the race lead.
Yeah, so absolutely. Looking at Jan Barth as well, currently in 24th, and yeah, some of the drivers further back will probably just take it a little bit easy, realising it's a 90-minute race and still a long way to go, and there's plenty of time to gain positions. But as they come through the chase now, and yeah, looking at a Patrick Tractor as well, under attack, by the looks of it. But yeah, it looks like everyone's been sensible and not doing anything too silly coming to the end of lap 1.
Yeah, this is an unusually clean start to a race at Bathurst. I was fully expecting to be scrambling to try and keep up with what's been going on, but and everyone looks like they're going to be playing the long game, and just take it easy on the first couple of laps, get settled in, try and avoid that early on damage. And of course, commentator's curse, poor Senyal, into the what looks like the exit wall from pit lane. So I'm not quite too sure how that came about. Be interesting to see a replay as to what actually caused that. But as we're on watching Jelen Valenduk in the Duke of Yanis car with the Dukes of Hazzard livery, really good fun to watch this car go around, especially around Bathurst. It suits then this sort of track. It's just a shame it's a BMW and not big American V8 that it should be with the livery.
Yeah, I was I was about to say the same. I'm surprised that it's not on a. I'm surprised it's not in, or I'm surprised that Yannick never chose the GT4 Mustang and used the Dukes of Hazzard livery on that. But still, I do like this livery. It's I'm a big Dukes of Hazzard fan, and I've watched the movie God knows how many times.
I'm going to be showing my age and said that I actually watched the TV show when it was on TV in the States. So showing my age a little bit. So yeah, always good fun to see this type of livery out. And having quite a good start to the race as well, and up to P4. So it made up a couple of paces on already. So when we found the replay of what happened to Daniel, and it looks like he just. From that angle, it was a little bit difficult to see whether anyone was alongside him, but it looked a very odd incident and a very strange place to go off. So, but bit of a weird one, that.
Yeah, I think I don't think anyone was on side him. I think he just looking at it. I just watching the way the car was bouncing. It looked like he just took too much of that inside curb in turn 1, and it just unsettled the car and it spun him around. But as getting another replay from another angle, it's like I don't think anyone was on side. And actually, he did tag it. Yeah, he did tag another car. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I take that back.
Yeah. Yeah, just trying to go for a dive on the inside, and just getting the door very, very firmly shut in his face. And unfortunately putting him into the wall at the exit of pit lane.
There's a look at Dave Hedges as well, and did something happen to Dave, or has he just lost several positions? Well,
he he has lost a couple of positions because I believe he qualified in P9, and Denise Pope has had a brilliant start up to P8. So she's had a really, really good start to the race and doing her best to capitalize on her good starting position in the AM class.
Yeah, absolutely. She's the current leading the AM class and 8th overall, so doing a good job as well as the Wild Things Racing driver. As they looking at Hedges again, and he lost he started ninth and lost a few positions as he dives into the pits now. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It looks like he might have tagged the wall possibly.
yeah, that car does look a little bit beaten up, and he was just getting overtaken left, right, and center coming down the Conrad Straight. So I just lost then the back end coming out of Skylines. Thankfully, is the way he hit the wall span him completely around, so at least he was facing the right direction. And into the pits, clearly to fix damage. It looked like he was a sitting duck on the back straight there.
Yeah, it's so easy to make that mistake over Skyline because just as soon as they brake, the car just wants to. It just becomes a little bit sketchy, and you've got to be very careful with your steering input. So just because you're braking and turning at the same time slightly, that the car just wants to try and come around on you. And I think Hedges as well might have just missed his braking point ever so slightly.
Yeah, as we head back to this battle between P1 and P2. Lenton currently within the quickest lap of the race so far, but only 0.4 of a second separating P1 and P2. So, yeah, I think then this fight's going to continue for quite a considerable amount of this race, I think.
Absolutely, as they look at the battle for third place between Andrew Richardson and Yannick Valenduke as well, with the GT4 livery and livery, sorry, and yeah, I thought Andrew Richardson would have caught back up to Lenson and Pixley and tried to put them under a bit of pressure, but it looks like Lenson and Pixley's got the pace at the moment to pull away.
Now, just looking at the lap time difference, Richardson's best lap was 2:13.7, whereas Lenson and Pixley are doing 2:13.1s and 2:13.4s, so they are lapping a little bit quicker than Richardson has been. However, Richardson has made up a couple of places from his starting position, so he's gotten himself onto the podium. But he's gonna have to find some lap time if he wants to bring that gap down. That gap now up to hovering about 4-second mark.
Absolutely, and it looks like he might have a position change for third place. As it looks like Van Duke was thinking about trying to go for a move there, but sensibly backs out of it because there's no way you can go 2x2 through there. But Van Duke as well, it looks like he's quicker than Richardson at the moment. So Richardson maybe struggling slightly, like maybe just doesn't feel as confident to push around here.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure what the Porsche is like around around Bathurst. I know that the Porsche can be a little bit of a handful sometimes, so he may not feel overly comfortable with the setup. Or he may be carrying a little bit of damage from a bit of rubbing in the first couple of laps. So it'd be interesting to see if he can bring that gap down. But at the minute, certainly with fighting with Yannick, that gap is actually increasing as opposed to coming down. So I think Richardson is going to have his work cut out for him. To try and make it 3 for 3 from this race. He's won the first two coming out, so yeah, he's definitely going to have a more challenging time for this race than he has for the first two.
Indeed, but as like I said, that Bathurst can spring as a track. It could spring up surprises, and quite possibly could have a surprise winner tonight. But it's still a long way, to go in this race, and still it's Lenson leading from Pixley. But yeah, I think it could be just Bathurst not suiting the Porsche possibly. I mean, the Porsche has never been known for being quick in a straight line. It's more of a handling car.
Yeah, which in theory means it should be fairly, rapid around the mountain. But if he's not managing to shake Valenduck in the mountain, then on the long straights, Conrad's and Mountain Straight, he may just be losing out to the slipstream.
Yeah, quite possibly. As we looking at seventh place, Dennis Verkman at the moment. Verkman is down in sixth place in the AM class at the moment, and currently running 17th overall. So Dennis is slowly making progress through the field, and as he gets a little bit sideways there. Oh, nice save.
Yeah, that was definitely good car control. Trying to keep that white Porsche in line, and he's struggling with it a little bit, but at least he's kept it out of the wall. So really good on that. And we've just heard that Valenduck has overtaken Andrew Richardson for P3. We're going to see if we can find a replay of that for you very shortly. And as if by magic,
Yeah, it was like Richardson just ran wide there, and they allowed Valenduck the opportunity to pounce and pick up a fair position. So it looks like Richardson is yeah, it looks like he's struggling slightly. He's struggling by the looks of it, and just doesn't seem to have that outright pace at the moment. But still, it's been a great drive so far from Valenduck. Get up into third place at the moment. But looking back at Dennis Verkman, currently 16th at the moment, and I think I thought it was Verkman that got sideways in the mountain there. It's I take that back. That was it looked like it was Cooper that got sideways in the heading into the mountain.
yeah, and just looking at Valenduck's position in the standings, currently sitting in P12 in the pro class. So a podium position is going to be a really good haul of points for him. Definitely going to give him at least a couple of places in the overall championship. We'll probably bring him up to, if things stay as they are, it's probably going to put him up to P10, P9 in the championship. So this is going to be quite a good outing for him.
Absolutely, he's still under attack from Richardson so slightly, but I think as soon as he get onto the States, I think Valenduck might pull away slightly. But coming to the back straight now, this is one of the corners you need a good exit to carry that momentum, and back up at the front, looking at Pixley, and Pixley's still in second place, but it's getting a lot closer now to the Lenson that's leading the race at the moment. Is he going to try and go for a move? I don't think he is.
Yeah, he's gotten a good run out of Conrad's, but I don't think he was quite close enough to make a move coming into the chase. But then this battle, I've got a feeling it's going to be really close all the way through the race. So it'd be interesting to see how this gap pans out in the pit stops. But for now, 0.4 of a second back is Pixley on Lenson as they head up into the mountain once again.
Indeed, and it looks like Pixley's getting closer again, but not close enough to make a move. So I think Pixley's best opportunity is heading back onto a Conrod Straight. I think if you can try and get a good exit and try and get close to him in a straight line, and maybe try and make a move heading down to the chase. I think that's his best opportunity.
Yeah, and I've just caught out of the corner of my eye on then the other screen that I'm watching. Mark Cooper has just had a really heavy hit into the wall, coming down into into the main straight. So be interesting if we can find a replay of what happened there, if it was just driver error or there are other cars involved. But that's that 38 Porsche is in dire straits now, and just pinball all the way up the mountain. It doesn't have very much control, so hopefully he can get that car back to the pits.
Yeah, I'm just watching him now, and that car is absolutely not wrecked, but it's got a big amount of damage. So that's going to be a long time in the pits, and could possibly be the end of his race.
Yeah, that is very wounded Porsche. Struggling to keep it in a straight line. So I suspect he's probably got bent steering rod as well as all of the aero damage in as well. So yeah, I've been in this position myself, and especially when an incident happens so early on in a lap, and you've just got to try and keep it. Yeah, it just went a little bit wide. One kiss onto the wall, and it just ends up concertinas all the way down the mountain. It's so difficult to recover and try and keep the car out of the wall after the first hit. And unfortunately, it's just building more and more damage as it goes down the mountain.
Yeah, it looks like he maybe just clipped that inside curve as well, and it's just pushed the car wide. And as soon as that happened, it looks like he was just a passenger from then on and just went into the wall. But back to life pictures, and still this battle for the lead is still close, and Pixley's fallen back ever so slightly. He's about 4/10 of a second behind Lenson. So I think Pixley's maybe just deciding to back off slightly and look after the cars and look after the car and look after the tires. But still, I think if he can't get by Lenson on track, there's always another opportunity to get by. Is maybe pitting early when the pit. Maybe pitting early and getting an undercut.
So Cooper has managed to make it back to the pits. So hopefully he'll get that damage repaired and come back out. But no doubt with the amount of damage that he's sustained, he's unfortunately going to be in there for a while. But I do hope that he keeps running. Then, as we're on board with Dave Hedges, he obviously had some damage early on. So he's done his pit stop. He's fixed the damage, and changed his tires and fuel. So he can, in theory, go to the end. Whether he's got the fuel for it is anyone's guess. I think he might manage it. I've not driven the KTM before, so I don't know how big a fuel tank it's got, but yeah, he could, if he keeps some nice clean lap times, he could pick up some places in the pit stops when everyone else starts going through those. Right, so I've just been informed in my ear by somebody who has driven the KTM before, by Bass, saying that fuel for Dave Hedges is going to be easy peasy, quote unquote. So we should see him go through to the end, and hopefully, if he keeps some nice clean lap times, he should pick up some places once everyone starts pitting.
Yeah, and talking of pit stops, Aaron Walker's just made his pit stop as well, so he should be fine to get to the finish from here on fuel. So Aaron Walker doing a strategy that he'd done in the previous round, I believe, where he pitted early and done an undercut and came out in clear air and managed to gain some position. So doing the same thing yet again at Bathurst, and he's came out the pits and he's got clear track in front of him. But still, this battle for the lead is really close between Lenson and Pixley closing right up on the braking, and I think Pixley, I think it's just a matter of time possibly before he gets by, but still Lenson doing a good job at the moment and doesn't seem to be intimidated.
Yeah, definitely, holding his own, not getting thrown off by Pixley, and just concentrating on apexes and exits, and just keeping it clean and doing his best to defend. In terms of Aaron Walker's pit stop, pitting early, it's a weird one. I personally wouldn't have gone for an early pit stop. Yes, you've got clean air, but with the mandatory tire change, it means that cars that are pitting later on are going to have those fresher tires. Your tires, going to be old and worn by the end of the race. So, I'm not sure it's a strategy I would have gone for. So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out for Aaron. There is a balance of, yes, pitting early, but tire life at the end might end up not swinging in his favor. So yeah, that'd be interesting, and it's definitely one that I'm going to keep an eye on.
As the leaders are coming up to a back, but Lenson just gets balked by a back marker. They're heading across the skyline, and the back marker tried to get out of the way as quickly as possible, but just couldn't really do anything. And the Lenson, I think, might be feeling frustrated by that slightly, and just being held up, and that's going to allow Richard Pixley to close right up now. And Pixley is closed right up on the brake, and he's got a great run. Can he try and get by and get a run in the slipstream and try to possibly take the lead?
Yeah, then I thought it might have been. So out of the corner of my eye, I did notice that back marker was a Team Wild Things car. So was Richard Pixley's teammate. Don't know if that was potentially strategic. But yeah, definitely one of Pixley's best opportunities so far. But unfortunately, not quite close enough. Lenson's managed to keep in front through then the chase, and as they just come out of Murray's onto the main straight, it's still Lenson followed by Pixley, but only 0.2 of a second between them.
Yeah, and Pixley gets a great exit on the exit of turn 1, but still, again, just cannot get close enough to try and make a move. But yeah, just going back to Aaron Walker as well, and regarding the tyres, taking new tyres at this stage of the race, as the race goes on, the track will start, the ambient temperature and the track temperature will start getting cooler, I believe. So that might help him save the tyres a little bit.
Yeah, it might do. I don't know if it's enough to offset the normal tire wear that you get with GT4s. The fact that they do move around the track and a little bit more, they do wear a bit more. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's going to be interesting to see whether it was then the right call or not. Yeah, that definitely piqued my curiosity.
We might have lost the driver in the race, unfortunately, but still, amazingly, at this stage of the race, it's there's only looks like there's only one retirement so far. So that's good to see from these drivers, and it looks like Pixley's getting close on the slipstream, heading down the straight, heading down to the chase, and can he try and make the move before the chase? I think he's going to be close enough, but still, this is a great battle for the lead, nevertheless.
Yeah, and Lenson, I think this is the reason why Lenson is still in front. He is making sure to always have that inside line coming into the chase. Pixley is always, right there, right on his bumper, even in some cases on his left-hand corner. But taking that inside line, it's extremely difficult, if not impossible, to go around the outside of the chase. And especially considering these are both Mercedes cars, so it's like for like machinery. There may be a slight difference in terms of setups, but yeah, then I think this battle is going to be ongoing throughout the entire race.
Absolutely, Izzy. Just looking at the gap back down to third place as well. It's about 4.9 seconds now. Back to Valenduc. So these two have been pretty much in a class of their own so far. As they head back up the mountain section, and Lenton doing a great job of keeping cool and not letting the pressure get to him or feel intimidated. And great job by Pixel as well to keep up the pressure so far in this race. And every time he gets close and sees an opportunity, it's just I think he's decided it's not worth taking a risk in case he wipes himself and also Lenson out as well.
Yeah, it's something that I was going to point out as well. He's been keeping the pressure on, but it's been clean pressure. Not going for any any ridiculous dive bombs or anything like that. I think he's trying to pressure Lenson into making a mistake. But Lenson, they're doing what he does best, keeping a cool head, and just letting the track almost do his work for him. This track is very, very difficult to overtake on, and Lenson is definitely making it difficult for Richard.
I know, unfortunately, it looks like Dave Hedges has had another issue in the race and has unfortunately had to go back to the pits, and it could possibly be a retirement from the race, possibly. But still, looking at his battle for the lead, Pixley still keeping the pressure up, but it's just these guys. It looks like these guys are both evenly matched, and it looks like Pixley gets a bit sideways there on the exit of turn one, and they. Great racing between these two as well. It's great respectful racing and nothing dirty from what I can see.
Yeah, I'm just looking a little bit further down the order. There's a good battle heating up between Dennis Workman and Patrick Tractor. Workman trying to take a bit of a look around then the outside, coming down onto into Murray's Corner. But this is one of the other tight battles that's out on track, and Workman and Tractor have had battles before in the previous two races, so be interesting to see how this plays out. And as well, I think there's going to be another battle that's going to be going on for quite a while.
Yep, absolutely, and it looks like Tractors feeling the pressure, and Vertman, I think, looks to be the quicker driver out of these two. Just can't get close enough to make a move, but Vertman as well. He needs to think about it. He doesn't want to try anything silly because he's still running well in the AM class. He's up into third place now in the AM class, so he needs to think about that. I think as I say that as well, it looks like Vertman might have just clipped the wall slightly.
Yeah, it has opened up a little bit of a gap. I'm just looking at their overall best lap times. We've just jumped on board with a replay of what happened to Dave Hedges just coming up through Griffin's Bend into the cutting. And yeah, just clips the inside wall at then the cut. There's literally at that particular section there's inches between the wall and the track, and yeah, all it takes is a little bit of a brush and it puts you straight into the opposite wall. So very unfortunate there for Dave Hedges. And yeah, and as I was saying before we went to the replay, looking at the overall best lap times between Workman and Tractor, there's a second between them. Dennis Workman has put in a 2:14.7, where Tractor has done a 2:15.6. So Dennis Workman is the faster driver out of these two and on this track, but. That was Patrick Tractor making it difficult to overtake, making that Aston Martin as wide as possible.
Yeah, and Vertman's doing everything to try and get by. He's moving around trying to distract Tractor and just trying to make Tractor lose his concentration. It looks like Vertman's got a run heading down to the run up to the mountain section, and can he get the move done? He's going to try and go up the outside. Can he be later on the brakes? And it's going to be close, and I think Vertman is up gained the position.
Yep. It's a perfect and overtake into Griffin's Bend. Workman didn't defend the inside, allowed Tractor to go up the inside, and yeah, move done nice and clean, and heading into the mountain section where it's going to be. Sorry, my apologies. The other way around, where Workman coming on, taking the inside line in to the mountain with Patrick Tractor there.
And I think something might have happened to Denise Pope because she was going very slowly across very slowly down the hill after Skyline. So I don't know if she's had a spin or might have just clipped the wall, but she's still.
Yeah, she's got quite a lot of damage on board and is a good 18 seconds down on her previous lap time. So yeah, definitely something's gone on. Let's hopefully we can get a replay to see what's happened.
Yeah, I'm just having a look from my point of view, and it looks like just watching the replay, and it looks like I just watched it from my view, and it looks like Denise there's a car that's stranded across Skyline, and Denise had nowhere to go, and she just clipped the car and got unfortunately she got big damage.
Yeah, it's a sinking feeling coming around a corner in the mountain where you have nowhere to go and coming face to face with a car pointed the wrong way. Quite terrifying prospect. And yeah, it's just one of those sinking feelings that you just see it coming, playing in slow-mo, thinking, there's nothing that I can do, I'm just a passenger. But hopefully we can find the replay for you.
So yeah, just looking at the replay, Denise is just going about her business, and just there's a car stranded across Skyline there, and Denise tries to brake, and she just had nowhere to go, and so unfortunate for Denise because she was having a great run in 8th place, leading the AM class, and I have to say I was watching her point of view stream as well, and she was not happy at all. Sorry, Denise.
Yeah.
You'll probably come and hunt me down, but that was so unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully she will continue going. So currently sat in the pits at the minute in currently in P14. So and hopefully we will see her back out on track. And I think Richard Pickley has had a mistake somewhere along the lines. Then the gap up to Dan Lenson has dropped to 2 seconds. So I think Richard has, possibly had a little bit of a mistake, so it dropped some time. So that battle is going to need to. Yeah.
Dennis Veltman just went well off track, so I don't know if him and the tractors had an incident, but yeah, it looks like he was well off track and probably went through the gravel. But look at the battle for 15th place overall, and between let's say looking at the mark at the moment, and it looks like he's got a run. And he's going to try and make a move. No, he's not.
So then, this is currently one of the closer battles on track at the minute between Mark Saniel and Jan Berth in the Porsche. Yeah, then Dennis having a little bit of a play in the sand traps, wanting to go a little bit of off-roading. Looks like he dropped it all on his own, coming out of the chase. Possibly got his braking point in a little bit wrong, and just wandered off into the beach.
Yeah, but absolutely. I'd say I've made a few mistakes there in the past, just missing my braking point and having to go through the sand trap. But yeah, it looks like there's no damage for Dennis, but managed to keep going. And by the stillest battle for 15th going on at the moment between Barth and Saniel, and it looks like Richard Pixley has dived into the pits, so the first of the front runners to make his pit stop.
Be interesting to see where Pixley comes out. Give us a good gauge as to what to expect for some of the later pit stops. Still in a little bit early. We're not quite halfway into the race yet. We've still got about another 10 minutes or so to go to the halfway point. So be interesting to see just how many places Pixley drops back from the pit stop. A lot of the cars are quite spread out now. We don't have very many close battles on track, so the number of positions that you lose could be mitigated a little bit. However, pit lane here is very, very awkward and quite a long pit lane, and also with the mandatory tire change. You've got that mandatory pit stop time of at least 30 seconds. Then it's the question of whether you fix any damage or not. And then, as I said at the top of the stream, I think that's going to be quite a bit of the deciding factor in the pit stops, is whether you fix damage or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends how big the damage is. I think if it's some slight maybe like front left body damage or whatever, and the car still feels fine, it's probably not worth repairing it. But these cars are not really aero dependent like you'd see on a GT3 car. So sometimes if you don't repair the damage of these cars, depending on how bad, if it's not that bad, you can get away with it. So I think some of these drivers are maybe got a little bit of damage. Will probably take the risk and not repair it. But still, this battle for 15th place rather between Barth and Saniel is still going on, and it looks like Richard Pixley as well came out in clear track in front of him, so he's not really being held up at the moment.
Yeah, he's got 2.8 to 2.9 seconds to Nicholas Malott out in front in the Porsche. So Richard should be able to put in some clean lap times, get his car back up to temperature and pressures, and get his eye back in. And as I was saying earlier, you need a rhythm around this track. So pit stops always then kind of disrupt that a little bit. I know it certainly takes me a couple of laps to get back into the swing of things. So. But he's got some clean air to be able to do that without too much pressure either from front or behind.
And look who's behind him as well. Is not too far behind is Aaron Walker, who made his pit stop very early, but it seems to be. I think his strategy so far seems to be working out because he's managing to slowly get through the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if he closes up to the rear of Richard Pixley. But I think Pixley on fresher tyres, much fresher tyres, should be able to pull away from Walker.
Yeah, and then I think this is where we're going to see whether Aaron's decision to pit early is going to play out. But certainly if he does close up then the gap to the back of Richard Pixley, that difference in tire life, I think is going to be the deciding factor between whether that early pit stop was a good decision or not.
Indeed, looking at Walker at the moment, and yeah, not too far behind Pixley, but like I say, Pixley will probably pull away, and it looks like Pixley's already closed up to the back of Malott as well, so it'll just be a matter of time before Pixley passes Malott and picks up another position.
Now, just looking a little bit further ahead of this battle, Dennis Workman in P10 is actually now second in class. So after the challenging, shall we say, qualifying session that he had, he's managed to claw back quite a number of those places, especially in the AM class. So I think he's going to be happy overall with that result.
Indeed, as Pixley goes by Malott, but Malott dives into the pits as well, so Pixley doesn't get held up too much, and yeah, just waiting for. It'll be interesting to see when the other drivers in front of Pixley decide to make a pit stop, because we're just about coming up to the halfway mark of the race, and I think this is probably the stage of the race where other drivers will start making a pit stop, say, or maybe the other drivers up at the front, especially Lenson, might try and go as long as possible and take less fuel. And talking about Aaron Walker as well, he's actually taking time out of Pixley as well. So Aaron Walker's not hanging around, and that gap's down to about 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, and it's in his last lap time from Walker was a 2:13.8. Previous lap time from Pixley, a 2:14.4. So quite a considerable difference in lap time. So if they keep up then this pace, Aaron is going to catch fairly soon, possibly within a couple of laps. But then it'll be interesting to see how then the tires play out when they're actually battling.
Indeed, as I was talking about pit stops from the other front-running drivers, Andrew Richardson's into the pits from third place, and Regan Mitchell is into the pits from fifth place. So a couple of other front-runners deciding to make the pit stops now. As I say, take that back as well. Dimitri Schenk's in the pits, and so is Elke Blum.
And Elkenboom and Sander Vale also in the pits in as well. So, yeah, pretty much right on cue. Halfway stage of the race, people are going to start coming in and pitting.
And Pix is coming down to Murray's corners now, so It'll be interesting to see where. Well, it's like I take that back as well. Andrew Richardson's coming out of the pits, and he should be well in front of Richard Pixley. So, a good call from Andrew Richardson on the strategy, and that's interesting. I was going to say Andrew.
Yeah, all of the front runners who are pitting, coming out of the pits now, all coming out pretty much ahead of Pixley and Walker. The only one that the Pixley might end up passing is Practic Tractor. He might catch. Timing screen has just updated, but Richardson is out and ahead of Richard Pixley.
It's interesting because Richardson was behind Pixley during the first stint of the race, or basically pretty much the first half of the race. So, yeah, I wonder if Richardson's been fuel saving and has not had to take as much fuel in the pit stop, or if he just had a good pit entry.
Yeah, and a pit entry has probably got a lot to do with it. The pit entry here is, as I said earlier, is extremely awkward. You're coming, off of the chase, high speed. It's got a very, very heavy braking zone into the pit lane, and the pit lane itself has got a bit of a chicane in it. So really, really awkward pit lane. It's really difficult to get it right. So a lot of these changes in position could be down to pit entry, hitting your marks and then the pit stop. Because there are mandatory tire changes, the amount of fuel you take on board has less effect. Tire changes at a fixed amount of time of 30 seconds in ACC. So then the amount of fuel really doesn't make too much of an issue. It is again that question of, if you are carrying damage, do you decide to fix it or not? So yeah, then definitely playing out interestingly in terms of how the pit stops are starting to shake out.
Talking about being jumped as well. Valenduc has managed to jump Pixley big time. So I wonder if Pixley had slight damage and decided to fix it. But yeah, Pixley's lost pretty much been the big loser in the pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, we did see Richard Pixley drop back from that battle with Lenson. Obviously, we didn't see what happened. We weren't on board at the time. He might have clipped the wall somewhere, and I might have just been bleeding a little bit of lap time, and making the decision to pit. But as we discussed pits, Lenson has decided to jump into the pits from P1. As is Tim Nybor from P2. So then this is where it's going to get interesting to see how this all plays out.
Absolutely, and just looking to see where Andrew Richardson is. I think Lenson should come out in front of Richardson, because I think Richardson's only coming up to the chase now, and Lenson is still in his pit box. I think he should be able to get back out in front of Richardson, I think, and looks like it, because Lenson is just leaving his pit box now.
Yep, and Valenduc is just coming round Murray's corner onto the main straight. So it will be close, but I think Lenson is going to remain out in front.
Yep, and Dennis Vertman's into the pits as well now, so making his pit stop, and Lenson came out in front of Valenduc, and he's got a comfortable margin now. So all Lenson needs to do is just bring it home, but still got about 39 minutes left in this race, and 39 minutes around Bathurst it feels like an eternity.
Yep, and then anything can happen. You know, the fact that we've got, you know, pretty much all of the mandatory pit stops out of the way, um, you know, just a slight clip of the wall and everything can still change. As we jump on board with Denise Pope, trying to make up some positions, and after that hard luck incident and at sunset, she's currently sitting in P3 in the AM class, P15 overall, as she's hunting down Nicholas Malott for the P14 slot.
Yep, good to see Denny's still running in the top three in the race, and it was just unfortunate about that incident in Skyline, but just nothing she could do, and having a car stranded across Skyline, it's pretty much you've got nowhere to go because that part of the track is so tight, and you've got a bit of runoff, but that runoff area that you've got is a bit bouncy, and it can make the car bounce, and yeah. I think Denise is probably feeling frustrated and felt she could have been higher up in the race, but that's the way she goes, and she's still doing well, sitting in third place in the AM class.
Yeah, then that runoff and at Skylines is very deceptive, and it's almost more dangerous to take than the runoff than it is to try and make the corner. There is a massive bump right in the middle, which can just spear you right back out into oncoming traffic. So, you know, been very misleading seeing that escape road there. It's kind of what I like to call an escape road to hell, because you might get out of the first part of an incident, but then end up right back in the second part of it, coming out of the bottom of that. So, yeah. Very, very difficult corner.
Absolutely. I was just out riding on board with Denise at the moment, and he's right behind it. It looks like Melee at the moment, and he's closing right up as they come through the chase now, and she's going to try and make a move. No, she's not, but she pulls out just to try and intimidate. But I thought that was. I thought I was going to end up in
brave on the
disaster.
brakes. That is brave on the brakes.
That's how could I say gutsy?
Yeah, and I think that's that braking, that late braking has actually has put her back a little bit. She's now 0.6 back from Nicholas as they come out of Help's corner up onto the mountain straight. And I've just noticed P19 Evan Yetvis has got a I think that's a Stopco 30. So I'm guessing that is for a pit lane infraction. And has Denise made I think Denise has made that move into Griffin's Bend stick. So brave place for an overtake, but she's managed it beautifully, heading up into the mountain in P14.
Yep. So yeah, Denise gains another position, and she's probably feeling fired up now because I could tell by the way her car was and the way she was moving around, she wasn't in the mood for staying behind. So picks up another position, and as I look at the replay of Mark Samuel as well to see what happened to him, and it looks like he ran wide. So he just got in the grass and just got sideways.
Yeah, and Jen just trying to pull the car off the racing line, but it's so difficult to try and turn the car around there, especially if you end up facing in the wrong direction. It's really, really narrow. You've got walls on both sides. Very, very difficult to get the car turned around. And that is going to be a lot of damage. And enough damage that is unfortunately had to return to garage. And just looking a little bit further up the order, Tim Nybor has managed to close the gap to Regan Mitchell, currently sitting at 0.3, 0.2 of a second as they come down out of the mountain.
And just looking at Regan's car, it looks like he's got a bit of damage, so he might have clipped the wall, at some point and we missed it. But yeah, Regan Mitchell, I was kind of expecting him to be up at the front there, challenging for a podium position, but just yes, not he's fallen back to 7th place now, so probably struggling a little bit. And I think maybe the Maserati just doesn't seem to suit this Bathurst circuit.
Yeah, and I think that lack of traction control has potentially bitten him somewhere. As you say, up in the mountain, then that Maserati is carrying quite a bit of front end damage, and it looks like. So, yeah, Regan, Tim did make the pass quite early on, coming down Conrad Straight. Pass was pretty much done before they'd even gotten to the chase. So, obviously, quite a speed difference between them at the minute.
Indeed, as always, like Regan's trying to go for a move, trying to take that position back from Tim Nybauer, and actually manages to get it done on the outside on the run up to the mountain. So great move by Regan, but it looks like Tim might have made a mistake possibly.
Yeah, but at a very opportune time for Regan to make the pass, obviously coming back up into the mountain. It's Tim is going to have to bide his time and wait until they get out of the S's, and if he's nice and close coming out of Forest Elbow, then with the damage that Regan's carrying on that Maserati, should have another chance coming down Conrad Straight.
Absolutely, as they come on to Conrad Straight now, and I think it looks like Tim's going to get a run in the slipstream now, and that damage is starting to hinder Regan possibly. As just look at the front end of his car, it's got some scratches and about some dents, and yep, as I say that, Tim Nybauer gets a run and pulls out from the slipstream and manages to pick up a 6th position. As Tim manages to pull away now, heading into Murray's corner and pulling away now, and Regan runs wide on the exit of the final corner, and yeah, Regan's definitely struggling with that damage.
Yeah, I suspect Regan is probably going to have to pit again if he's struggling to keep the car out of the walls. I think we may see him jump into the pits next time around. But yeah, then that Maserati looking a little bit worse for wear. So we jump back on board with Dan Letson. Just keeping his nose clean, and up at the front, he's got a nice healthy gap back to Yannick Valenduck of about 5.5 seconds. Just driving in his own race, just counting down then the minutes as we come into the last half hour of the race.
As Dan comes into the final corner now, and he just needs to keep it clean for the final 28 minutes. And well, I have to say it's been a clean race so far, and there's not really been many retirements. Everyone's still going apart from we've had 2 retirements from the race, but apart from that, there's still 19 cars on track, and I think that's good to see. And I think there's been great drives in the race so far, and I have to say if there was a driver of the day vote, my driver of the day would probably have to be Yannick Valenduck.
Yeah, he's quietly been making up places throughout the beginning of the race, and his decision to not follow some of the other drivers who pitted early and stayed out, stuck to his pit strategy. He's done a brilliant race to get up into P2 with that in that Dukes of Hazzard BMW. Now we've just heard from our camera guy that Regan, his issues that he was having was all the way back from lap 15, so he's been carrying that damage for quite a while now. Obviously, we're now in lap 27, so he's done a really good job to nurse that car around with the amount of damage that he had, but it's just obviously started to get all in a bit much. But seeing as he has been carrying that damage for a while, he may decide to just stick it out. He's not pitted yet, as I thought he would. So, seeing as he's been driving for 10 laps with that damage already, he's probably going to stick it out, thinking that he's going to lose less positions staying out on track than coming in and pitting to fix the damage. So. Yeah, not a race that Regan's probably going to want to remember.
Looking at Damien the Kaiser at the moment in 12th, and it's been a quiet race for the Kaiser. Not really been involved in any incidents from what I can see, and his car looking relatively clean. So it's been a decent drive by the Kaiser in 12th place, and I think he'll be happy just to finish. But I think the next car in front of him is Patrick Tractor, who's about 5 seconds ahead, I believe. Yeah, about 5.1 seconds. So I think it's just a case of the Kaiser getting to the finish now, unless anything happens to anyone in front of him.
Yeah, with the field being fairly spread out, and as it is, I think a lot of drivers are going to be concentrating on just keeping it out of the wall. 90 minutes is a long time to concentrate on around a track like this. Bathurst does take a lot of concentration. Yes, you do have some long straights there that you can kind of relax a little bit, but the mountain is just so full on that the adrenaline doesn't really have a chance to ebb away too much in this lap. So 90 minutes is a long race around here. I have no idea how real life endurance drivers do this track for 12 hours. I can't even comprehend driving this track for 12 hours. So I do think a lot of these drivers are just going to be, let's just relax. Let's get to the end of the race with no more damage, and collect the points.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Even if you're all by yourself on track and there's no one there's no one. You're not really racing anyone or battling anyone. And you're in a good position. It's always worth to keeping going because you can still pick up a good handful of points, especially around the track such as Bathurst. And looking at Dimitri Schenk as well, currently ninth at the moment and ninth overall, having a great race and inside the top 10, and he'll be on for a good haul of points by the looks of it. But nothing really going on at the moment, and it's all seems to have. I don't want to jinx it. We've still got pretty much about 23 minutes left in the race. Everyone's always as I say that Mark Cooper getting a little bit wide there on the exit of Murray's on the grass, but it looks like it's all been relatively nice and calm at the moment.
Yeah, it's getting when we have lulls in races like this, it does give us a chance to take a look at some of the other drivers involved in this championship who may not necessarily get a lot of screen time normally. So people like Mark Cooper for the Red Bull Esports team. Currently sitting in P18 in the 38 Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I was going to say, I do like that Red Bull Esports livery that Mark's using. It looks nice. It looks simple, but it looks nice as well.
Mm. Yeah, so sometimes saying simple is definitely best.
The director just said something in our ears that I'm trying not to laugh at, but
Yep, I'm doing my best as well.
yeah. Oh dear.
Right. Back to the racing. Just looking at Icon Boom up in P1 in the AM class to P10 overall. This is going to be a very, very good haul of points for Icon Boom. Currently coming into this race, he was P7 in the AM class championship. So a win here is going to give him a really, really healthy haul of points. It's going to give him quite a number of positions up in the championship. But looking down at Dennis Workman and Denise Pope, still in the same order that they are in the championship. So that gap is unlikely to change. Denise, she had a fantastic opportunity with this race. It's so unfortunate then what happened at Skylines. But there's no doubting where Workman has done a really, really great job to recover from quite a challenging qualifying session, only getting in a valid lap time and on the last lap, and being able to claw his way up through then the pack. And get himself up into P2 in the AM Championship. So a really good recovery drive from Dennis.
Yeah, absolutely has. He had that big moment through the chase, going through the gravel, but apart from that, it's been a solid race from Dennis, and they had that battle with Patrick Tractor, and Patrick Tractor up on 11th at the moment. But I think Dennis will still be relatively happy with this drive, considering he's still in second place in the AM class, and I think thinking about it, I don't think he's really worried about the overall result. I think just as long as he gets a good result in the AM class and picks up a good bag full of points, it'll be a good race for him.
And just looking at the standings in the pro class and how this race is going to pan out. Andrew Richardson currently sitting in P3. Then does mean that he's going to further extend his lead over Regan Mitchell in the pro class. Obviously, Regan having a slightly challenging race, carrying that damage with that Maserati down in P7. And one who is going to benefit from this race quite a bit is Jan Wallenduck. He's currently sitting in P12 in then the championship. So a P2 finish today is going to give him a nice healthy haul of points. Certainly get him in a good couple of places in the championship. Might even bring him up into the top 10. So he's going to be, I think, quite happy with this result today.
Yep, absolutely. As he comes across just a little bit wide there on the grass on the run up to Skyline there, but manages to keep it on the track, and they don't want to be doing that at this stage of the race. Yannick maybe just pushing a little bit too hard there to try and close that gap down to Dan Lenson, but the gap to Lenson is 5.8 seconds now, and if I was Yannick, I would just think about bringing it home now. But yeah. Going back to Andrew Richardson as well, it's he's not he's not going to win the race by the looks of it, but still it's a good handful of points for the championship, and that's something about Alan Prost that I always respected. That he didn't always win a race, but he always aimed to finish races and pick up points, and fought of the long game when it came to the championship, and it seemed to work with him because I think he won, was it 2 championships or 3 championships?
Yeah, and I always remember that about him as well. You know, there's been a couple of interviews that I've seen with him, where he just came right out and said, well, there's no point in me fighting for a position. This was the position I needed, and that's and all I did for the championships. So yeah, definitely one who thinks long game. I don't know if it's actually played on Andrew Richardson's mind at all during this race. Whether he's been keeping an eye on his championship rivals of Regan Mitchell and Aaron Walker, seeing that they're behind him and maybe thinking, okay, well, maybe I don't need to push quite as hard. Personally, from what I know of Andrew Richardson, my guess is he's a racer through and through. As he's always going to fight for positions and try to do as well as he possibly can. So don't know really if he's been paying too much attention to where Regan and Aaron are in comparison to him. But yeah, it's been an interesting race, and not quite as dramatic and as I was expecting and as you would normally expect for Mount Panorama, but still a very interesting race in terms of seeing how some of the strategies have played out, and seeing how people have been managing situations in terms of damage, with Regan clearly making the decision to stay out with damage, whereas other drivers with damage made the decision to come in and fix that damage even fairly early on. So difference of an approach there, and it's interesting to see how that's planned out in the results.
Indeed. It looks like Aaron Walker is starting to close that gap back down to Richard Pixel in front of him, and Aaron Walker, even though he's on slightly older tyres, his pace has still been really good, and he's been closing that gap down to Pixley lap by lap, and the gap is down to about 1.3 seconds now.
Yeah, just looking at their last lap times, and Aaron Walker with the 2:13.8, Richard Pixley with the 2:14.9, so nearly a second difference between them in their lap times. So the fact that Aaron is on much older tyres doesn't seem to be affecting him that much.
Yeah, indeed. I think I wonder if Aaron's just been looking after his tyres after the pit stop and just making sure he's got, if he's got enough tyre life left towards the end of the race to try and possibly challenge for a few more positions. And it looks like, just looking at the gap now, he's definitely closing that gap down to Pixley for sure.
Yep, down to 1.3 at the minute. So yeah, this could give us an interesting end to the race as we come down into the final 14 minutes.
And it looks like, excuse me, it looks like this is pretty much the closest battle on track at the moment as well. So, yeah, we've just got under just under 14 minutes left in this race, and this is the closest battle on track, and I think it's just a matter of time before Aaron possibly closes right up to the rear of Richard Pixley. And as I say that, Aaron Walker absolutely gains heaps of time over Skyline.
Yeah, as long as he keeps it clean through the S's and has a good run out of Forest Elbow, then he should be able to claw in just a little bit more time in the slipstream down Conrad's. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move. This lap's probably going to be, if these lap times continue the way they are, probably another lap or two before he's in an overtaking position. But definitely Aaron Walker is on the hunt. Just looking at the overall lap time between these two and Andrew Richardson in P3, these two are lapping half a second and slightly more quicker than Andrew Richardson. So the gap between Pixley and Richardson currently sitting at 4.4. If lap times then again continue the way they are, there's a possibility that this may boil down to a 3-car battle by the end of the race. Especially depending on how any back markers happen to...
Pixel's on the wall!
Oh no!
Oh, he was just about in the wall, but manages to just keep it out. That was, that was so close.
I was looking at the timing screen and only just caught that out of the corner of my eye, so be interesting to see just how much damage Pixley has gotten from that. And car looks relatively stable at the minute, but I think I think coming down Conrad's the next time is going to give us an indication as to just how much damage Pixley's just picked up.
Yeah, I was just checking the front end of his car, and it looks like he's not got any bonnet damage, thankfully. So, I think Pixley's starting to feel the pressure now, because he got a bit sideways there, and they had to correct the car, and he just kept out of the wall, and that was great car control.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like there's too much of a speed difference between them coming down Conrad's, so Pixley might have just gotten away with it, but it does mean that he's going to be under a lot of pressure now, as a back marker just gets out of the way coming down into Murray's, not wanting to get involved in that fight.
Aaron Walker pulling out there from behind, just trying to distract Richard Pixley there, and I think Pixley's maybe struggling with the tyres now. Maybe tyre pressures are not maybe his tyre pressures have dropped off slightly. So, but still, it looks like both of these guys are evenly matched in a straight line, and I think that little hiccup from Pixley on the previous lap might have probably woken him up now. So it just needs to stay on his toes and keep focus, and not let Aaron Walker or not give Aaron Walker an opportunity to get by.
Yep, and both of these are experienced drivers. They've been with SSRI for a while now, so they're both accustomed to racing against each other, and it's definitely going to make for a exciting finish to the race as we just tick over into the final 10 minutes.
Indeed, as come across Skyline now, and every time I watch Walker come across Skyline, he just manages to, I don't know if he's just managed to brake ever so slightly, but he gains loads of time, and He is getting a lot closer now, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to Pixley in a straight line now and maybe tries to make a move, but not getting as close as I thought he would.
Yeah, then that gap down Conrad's is staying relatively stable at what 0.4, 0.5 of a second. So these cars are evenly matched. Despite the difference in tire age, which I thought was going to play a lot more of a role in this than it appears to be at the minute. But yeah, it's then definitely making for edge of his seat watching for the final 8 minutes.
Yep, and it's come through turn one now, and it looks like Walker's got a great run, and he's getting slightly closer to the back of Pixley, and Walker as well, flashing the lights, trying to distract Pixley, and trying to distract him. As I've just had confirmation as well in the rules that you're not allowed to use your headlights to try and distract another driver. So maybe Aaron Walker could be getting a slap on the wrist after the race.
Yeah, and Aaron, they're definitely doing a brilliant job keeping the pressure on Pixley. I think all he needs to do is just force Pixley into another mistake, like he had a couple of laps ago. But yeah, it's going to be tight, and then Richard runs just a little bit wide, just gets a tire on then the grass just coming out of Skylines. But it does manage to keep it clean and out of the wall, down through the S's into Forest Elbow. And then this is one of this is a good opportunity for Walker coming out of Forest Elbow. Is 0.3 behind, is right in the slipstream. Okay, coming down Conrad Strip. I don't think he's going to be close enough coming into the chase to make a move.
He's not really close enough. He needs to. Aaron Walker, as he gets a bit sideways there. Aaron Walker, as much as he gets close under braking behind Pixley, he just can't capitalise and try and pass him. I think it's going to take a mistake from Pixley for Walker to try and get by. Again, Walker closes right up on the brakes, very late on the brakes.
I think that might have been what contributed to his little bit of a power slide coming into Murray's corner, just a little bit, possibly too hard on the brakes and letting the back end go light.
There's a couple now coming up now to the mountain section, and Pixley again a bit slow on corner entry there, and Aaron Walker closes again right up and gets a bit sideways, but I think Walker might be feeling slightly frustrated there because I think he knows that he can get by Pixley and pull away, but it's just trying to find that opportunity to make a move and try and get by, and but especially apart or around this part of the track. Across coming up to Skyline again, and Aaron Walker closes right up in the rear of Pixley and still just nowhere to go.
Yeah, then there's just no passing opportunity in the mountain. It is just too dangerous to attempt and move up there. He's gonna have to bide his time and wait, try and get a really good exit out of Forest Elbow. But when we've seen time and again coming down the Conrad Straight that these cars do appear to be evenly matched on top speed. So it's gotta be getting frustrating for Walker, again sitting behind, having car right there and just not able to capitalize.
Is the battle for the leads going on? The battle for the battle for four positions going on. The battle for second place in the AM class is going on between Denise Pope. I think might have just clipped the wall slightly or got sideways at least, and she was right behind Dennis Vertman as well. So Denise Pope just pushing a little bit too hard there.
I've raced with Denise and a couple of times in the past in the more females championship, and you know she's one that is going to be mindful of the championship, knowing that Dennis Workman is her main rival in that AM class. She's going to be keen to want and to make a move, especially in then this race, the race that could have been if she hadn't had that incident up in Skylines. No doubt that's playing on her mind a little bit, and definitely giving her some an impetus to try and get then this move on Dennis Workman done.
So as Denise closes right up on the back of Dennis on the brakes there, and I think it's just going to be a matter of time before she possibly gets by as Dennis defends a little bit into Murray's corner, and still this battle for fourth place at the top there is still close as well. So two battles going on at the same time, and I think it's going to go down right down to the final couple of minutes, and Denise again closing on the brakes there, and can she try and get a good run the exit of the turn one? She gets a decent exit, but it's, again not really getting close.
Yeah, I think because of the lower amount of downforce in these GT4 cars, I think you do need to be a lot closer than in GT3s for the slipstream to have as much effect. So then is making it difficult for both Aaron and Denise to try and capitalize on these positions. And I think, and as you say, it's going to come down to the absolute wires. We're down to the last 90 seconds of this race, and that's when we're going to stay with these two battles, as opposed to go into the leader. But I'm just hoping that everyone is going to keep it nice and clean. Nobody's going to do a do or die last corner. As interesting as it would be to see, that's and I hope that this stays clean and.
Yep, is it? Excuse me. Is it this battle for second place in AM is still going on at the bottom of the screen, and Denise she keeps getting a good run, but she just can't get close enough to make a move. As it looks like Aaron Walker's get right behind the rear of Richard Pixley heading around the mountain section and heading up to Skyline now, and he can't really make a move. So Pixley handling the pressure really well, and they've got a back marker just up ahead of them.
And Denise just gets alongside and into Murray's corner, but unfortunately, it's along the outside of Murray's, and just not able to capitalize, even though she did get up and alongside. That inside corner is much quicker than the outside.
The leader has finished the race.
So checkered flag has dropped. Dan Lenson has taken P1 with Yannick Valenduc taking P2. We are staying on board with these two battles just to see how it pans out. Richard Pixley has managed to close the gap to Andrew Richardson, but it's not going to be enough. There's still 1.2 seconds between them, so Andrew Richardson will take P3.
Yep, and it was like
And then Denise has had to go wide and has gone down the escape road coming into Skylines. So that unfortunately is that battle pretty much finished as well. And unless Workman makes a mistake coming down out of Forest Elbow, that's going to be that decided as well. So Dennis Workman going to maintain P2 in the AM class as Icon Boom just crosses then the line to take the victory in the AM class.
and that looks like yeah, after that battle finish, it looks like that's pretty much say that all the runners pretty much finished by the looks of it.
Yep, so the finishing order at the sharp end of the race was Dan Lenson, P1, Jan Valenduk coming in P2, and Andrew Richardson coming in P3. So not quite the excitement that we were expecting, but still a very, very interesting race, wasn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, it was a great race to watch, and yeah, there was plenty of battles going on, and yeah, not just overall, but also in the AM class as well, especially that battle with Dennis Vertman and Denise Pope for second and third in the AM class, and Bathurst proving once again why it's a great track and throwing up a great race.
Yeah, I do feel sorry for Denise. You know, that incident in Skylines, you know, none of her own making, and you know, she was in such a good position coming into that. I'm sure she's obviously going to be happy with you know maintaining her position and not letting the her battle with Dennis Workman get you know too much of an increase in that gap in the championship, but no doubt she's going to be feeling you know a little bit the race that could have been. And we've got Dan Lunson joining us in the commentary box, our winner this evening. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, pretty good. Thank you.
So quite an interesting race from our point of view. How was it from for you?
Yeah, it was a good race. I think the start went really well, and then the first half an hour, I had a really nice battle with Pixley, who was constantly like within a second. But then I think he made a mistake or something going over the mountain, and he dropped back, which was unfortunate because I think it was a really, really good battle. And then afterwards, I was able to just keep my pace, do my own laps, and just keep it out of the wall.
Do you enjoy driving Mount Panorama, or is this a race you've been dreading?
Oh no, I think this is one of my favorite tracks on the service. Actually, I did the Bathurst 1000 last weekend, so already had quite a bit of practice, although not in a GT4 car.
Okay.
So I still had the track sort of fresh in my muscle memory, so I sort of only had to adjust to the car. But yeah, these GT4s have a little bit more grip than a big V8 supercar. But the racing was a lot more fun because you're not as much on the limit and you have a bit more room to fight with other people.
Good. How did you do in the the Bathurst 1000 then?
It went okay-ish until we hit one of the walls, one of the
Oh,
many
no.
walls. So we were leading, but we hit the wall and had massive damage. So unfortunately, we didn't finish the race, but it was a fun race nevertheless.
Good. So the our next race we head in across the pond to Watkins Glen, one of the new tracks for this year. Are you looking forward to that race? If you had very much opportunity to learn the track yet?
I think I had a few races in the GT3s already on Watkins Glen, and I think it will be a pretty good track for GT4s as well, with long straights, good opportunities to slipstream and get some overtakes.
Excellent. So looking forward to it then.
Yes, definitely.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And glad you enjoyed the race. And we look forward to seeing you around Watkins Glen.
Yes, thank you. See you around.
And we're joined with Jan Valenduk. And how are you doing, Yannick?
I'm good. Sweating a bit, but I'm good.
Wait, was that a bit stressful for you, Yannick?
Not too stressful because in the end it was kind of static. I knew I couldn't catch him. I tried to, of course, but I had a little bit of damage, so maybe lost a little bit of pace there. But yeah, he's my teammate, so I'm still happy he won.
It's always challenging, right, racing against your teammate, knowing just how much then do you push. But so you said that you had damage. How early on in the race did you pick that damage up?
First 2 laps actually. It wasn't too much, but just a few in the traffic. I just scratched the balls a few times, and I had a really low downforce setup, so it was a bit tricky at that point. Later in the race, when I was driving alone, I could just focus on myself, and then it was easy to avoid. But yeah, I mean, it's part of racing Bathurst, I guess.
Do you like racing here?
Yeah, definitely love this track. It's awesome.
And then, are you looking forward to Watkins Glen next time out?
For sure, yeah. I love Watkins Glen in the GT3, so I'm really curious how it will be like in the GT4 cars as well. But it's a few weeks away, right? I think after the endurance race.
Yes, October 18th.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
got a couple of weeks worth of practice. Are you going to be taking full advantage?
I don't think so. I usually practice on the night of the race, and it's enough. I did that today as well. So
Right, and what about then the strategy? Did the strategy go to plan? Did you adjust mid race, and what was the plan going in?
yeah, to be honest, I think the strategy was pretty straightforward because the tire swap was mandatory. Maybe otherwise I would have gambled and not tried not to switch just to stay ahead.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that of course it was mandatory, so it was pretty straightforward. Just stop in the middle of the race, and at that point everyone had already stopped behind me as well, so I had no traffic at all. So it was actually not really a part of the race. That in that regard.
Okay, excellent. But Ryan, you got any questions for Yannick before we move on?
Yeah, just but looking at your pace today, and yeah, did you ever expect to finish on the podium today? I mean, you would normally see the likes of Regan Mitchell and Richardson up at the front, but were you surprised when you saw that Mitchell and Richardson were behind you?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised how easily I got past them, to be honest. I knew the BMW was strong here, so I thought I could fight for it. Then qualifying wasn't perfect. I had my last lap, fortunately, was ruined because someone crashed in front of me. Happens, of course, but yeah, passed them pretty quickly. So yeah, I wasn't really expecting to fight for the win with my teammate, but I knew I was gonna be close to the podium, I think.
Good stuff. And before we let you go, Yannick, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out or a thank you to?
Shout out to Tim Nyboer, our other teammate who had a bit of bad luck, and maybe we could have had a 1, 2, 3 if he hadn't. So shout out to him.
Good stuff. Well, again, congratulations on the finishing in second, Yannick. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next time out.
Thanks very much, guys. Hope you enjoyed the race.
Yep, definitely did. Thanks, Yannick. Andrew, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. Yeah, I am tired, but
Tired.
light to be here speaking to you.
So, when were you expecting a P3 finish? You qualified a little bit further down than we were expecting. How was qualifying for you?
Yeah, in all honesty, I wasn't expecting to race at all. I've been away this week, and I wasn't sure I'd be back in time.
Oh, okay.
But I got back and about enough time to get a few practice laps in, and yeah, off we go. I wasn't happy with my qualifying. I couldn't put a lap together. But yeah, I just for the race, I took a setup that would be fast on the straights because they're so long here, and hoped I could keep people behind over the mountain, and it seemed to work for me.
Excellent. And is Bathurst a track that you enjoy racing, or do you dread it?
I love the challenge of it. I'm very surprised that I only grazed the wall a couple of times. I was expecting to wipe myself out at least once, but no, I managed to keep it clean, which is probably the reason why I've ended up P3. I think I've benefited from a couple of other drivers making mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with Watkins Glen being the next round out in a couple of weeks' time, is Watkins a track that you have had time to learn yet since it was introduced a few weeks ago, or is it still relatively new for you?
Yeah, I've done a couple of GT3 races on Watkins Glen. I absolutely love the track. It's so much fun. I think the Porsche will go well round there. I think it'll suit it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully, get back on top of the podium.
Excellent. And any questions for Andrew Ryan before we go? And then we've got Icon Boom sitting in the waiting
Just
as well.
looking ahead to Watkins Glen and the with you racing the Porsche as well. What do you think are going to be the strong points for the Porsche around the Watkins Glen? Do you think it'll be the high speed corners, or when it comes to stuff like using curbs, or what do you think will be the strong point for the Porsche around Watkins Glen?
Yeah, I think the Porsche generally it's a good all round car. It doesn't have any big weaknesses, but some cars are better in certain areas. We saw today with the Mercedes are rapid round here. I couldn't get anywhere near them. But around Watkins Glen, I think the fact that there's some more corners and not quite so many straights, I think that'll benefit the Porsche. Some of the long corners as well. There's quite a lot of long corners at Watkins Glen, and I think the Porsche will do well around those.
Good stuff. And any shout-outs or thank yous you want to give before we let you go?
Well, I'd love to thank everyone who's organises the races. They're putting a lot of work, and I know it's a thankless job. Thank you to yourselves for commentating. I love watching the streams back. And just a massive congratulations to Yannick and I think it's Dan, who was P1. Just doing 90 minutes round Bathurst without hitting the wall is a big enough task. Never mind, being so quick. Didn't have an answer for them at all today.
Good stuff. Well, again, congratulations on finishing on the podium, mate, Andrew. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time out at Watkins Glen in 2 weeks' time.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. And last but definitely not least, Jan-Paul Eikelenboom, how are you doing?
Good. Right. It was fun.
It was fun. And how did you enjoy that track, that race?
I really like the track. It's always fun to do. It's quite hard, but I'm quite quick in a Mercedes, but I didn't expect P1. I think I was also a little bit lucky.
Sorry, my mic cut out for a second. So you enjoy driving by Bathurst, but weren't expecting P1. Did I catch that right?
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
Denise Pope and I saw she was quite quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already settled with P3 or 2. And then I saw her crash and then I thought, okay, maybe P1 is possible.
Yeah, so then this P1 finish gives you quite a good haul of points. When I was looking at the standings just before the race, you were in P7 coming into this race. So this is going to give you quite a number of positions in the championship. Is it something that you think about during the race? Is where your championship position is and how you're doing in the overall championship, or do you just concentrate on what's happening in the race in front of you at that minute?
Mostly last. Although I'm quite consistent with my pace, so most times that is an advantage when doing the race. So I don't do a lot on track with passing people, but I keep out of trouble most times and then get some points.
Yeah. And with Watkins Glen coming up as the next track in a few weeks' time, and it obviously being a new track introduced to the game recently, have you had much time to race on it, practice on it? Are you looking forward to the next?
I'm looking forward to it. It's my favorite of the 3 tracks. And I did one race with GT3 cars, which was quite fun and also went well. So I hope the GT4s are similar. So I'm looking forward to the track. I really like the flow of the track.
Yeah, it is quite a fast flowing track, and isn't it? Does seem to string together nicely. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching you guys head out there next round out. Ryan, have you got any questions for Jan Paul before we go?
You pretty much asked some questions that I was going to ask, but so it pretty much summed it up for me.
Excellent. Okay then. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Jan Paul. Congratulations on your AM class victory, and we look forward to seeing you out in Watkins Glen in a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, thanks also for the great commentary every time. I really like looking back to the stream and watching the race and hearing you guys. So thanks for the effort.
Thanks a lot. So that is round 3 of Mount Panorama done and dusted. I certainly enjoyed commentating on that. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I had fun. I had fun calling that, and it was a great race. That was a great battle in the AM class towards the end, and for second and third place, and also that battle overall towards the end as well. I enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to Watkins Glen. It's one of my favourite tracks on the ACC platform, and yeah, I think it's going to provide a great race with these fantastic GT4 cars.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do a little bit of practice on Watkins Glen. I've just not had the opportunity to drive it at all since it was introduced a couple of weeks ago. So I think I'm definitely gonna have to put in a couple of laps, just so that I know what it is that I'm gonna be talking about next round out. So speaking of next rounds, as we've said, next round is Watkins Glen on October the 18th. That's going to be a 75-minute race. So we're back to the fuel-only mandatory pit stops. So going to be some variation introduced back in with pit strategies. And then after Watkins Glen, we head back over to Europe to Spa on November 1st for our second 90-minute race. Then we head over to Zolder on November 15th, and then we finish out the season back in the Americas at Cota, Circuit of the Americas in Texas on November 29th for our final 75-minute race. So, just over quarter way through then the championship. It's definitely been some great racing through the championship so far. You looking forward to Watkins Glen, Ryan?
Yeah, I am indeed. I love the track, and yeah, I've done some laps around Watkins Glen. I've done some races around Watkins Glen with the excuse me, the GT3 cars, and I think similar to you, I'll probably do some offline practice with the GT4 cars because I've never, I have to admit, I've never done any GT4 practice around Watkins Glen, but it's still a great track nevertheless. And I think with these GT4 cars being so close together, I think we should be in for another close race.
Yeah, should be really, really good fun. So, anyone watching back the stream, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon so that you get notifications for all of our live streams and race upload recordings whenever they go live. So, thank you very much for joining us. I am Sam Pierce, joining me with Ryan Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you out in the next race. Thank you very much.